The silence was deafening. There was saliva dripping down the box I had spent 6 months saving for. "Trash," she sneered, "just like you." My husband looked down. Nobody defended me. I didn't wipe the box. I just walked out into the snow. I counted to 3. Inside the house, her phone started blaring. She answered to laugh at me, but the voice wasn't mine. It was the IRS. "My name is Reese, and this is the story of how I destroyed my mother-in-law." Christmas Eve, Chicago, 2022. The Ashford family estate sat on Lakeshore Drive, a 3-story limestone mansion with 12-foot ceilings, imported marble floors, and a view of Lake Michigan that cost more than most people make in a lifetime. I wasn't supposed to be there. Not really. The Ashfords made that clear from the day I married their son. My husband's name was Camden. We met at Northwestern. I was working 2 jobs to pay for grad school in accounting. He was coasting through a finance degree on his parents' dime. He was charming, funny. He told me his family would love me. He lied. His mother's name was Genevieve Ashford, 63 years old, former debutante, current board member of half the charity organizations in Chicago. She wore Chanel-like armor and treated people like servants, and she hated me from the moment we met. I wasn't rich and wasn't connected. I didn't grow up summering in the Hamptons or skiing in Aspen. I grew up in Gary, Indiana. My dad worked at the steel mill. My mom cleaned houses. To Genevieve, that made me trash. She said it to my face the first time I came to dinner. "Camden could have had anyone. Why did he choose you?" I smiled, didn't flinch. "You'd have to ask him." She didn't like that. We'd been married 3 years by Christmas 2022. 3 years of passive-aggressive comments, 3 years of being excluded from family photos, 3 years of Genevieve telling Camden in front of me that he'd made a mistake. But I kept my mouth shut, played nice, brought expensive wine to dinners, complimented her decor, smiled through the insults. Because I loved Camden. Or I thought I did. Looking back now, I'm not sure what I loved. Maybe the idea of him. Maybe the idea of being accepted into a world I'd never belonged to. Either way, I was done pretending. The gift I brought that Christmas Eve cost me $2,400. I saved for 6 months, skipped lunches, picked up freelance bookkeeping gigs on weekends, canceled my gym membership. It was a vintage Hermes scarf. Silk, hand-stitched from 1987. The pattern was called Les Clebs, keys, a motif Genevieve had mentioned once at a charity gala 2 years ago. I found it on an estate sale website, authenticated it myself, had it professionally cleaned and pressed. I wrapped it in cream-colored paper with a silk ribbon. No card, just the box. I thought maybe, just maybe, this would be the thing that made her see me differently. I was wrong. The Ashford Christmas Eve dinner was a tradition. 18 guests, formal attire, catered meal, champagne before, cognac after. I wore a black dress, simple, elegant. Camden wore a navy suit. We arrived at 6 p.m. Genevieve answered the door in a floor-length emerald gown. She looked at me like I was a stain on her carpet. "Reese," she said. Not a greeting, just an acknowledgement. "Merry Christmas, Genevieve," I replied. She turned and walked away without another word. Camden squeezed my hand. "She's just stressed. You know how she gets." I didn't respond. Dinner was excruciating. Genevieve seated me at the far end of the table, away from Camden, away from the family, next to Aunt Margot, who smelled like mothballs and spent the entire meal talking about her cats. I smiled, nodded, ate my duck confit and roasted Brussels sprouts, in silence. Across the table, Genevieve held court, laughing, charming, the center of the attention. She caught my eye once, smiled. It wasn't warm. After dessert, we moved to the living room for gifts. The Ashfords didn't do gifts the normal way. No tree, no stockings, just a formal exchange in front of everyone. A performance. Genevieve went first. She handed out envelopes, cash, $500 for each guest. A little something, she said with a smile. When she got to me, she skipped me entirely. I felt my face flush, but I didn't say anything. Camden noticed. He looked uncomfortable, but he didn't say anything either. Then it was my turn. I stood up and handed Genevieve the box. She looked at it like I'd handed her a dead rat. "What's this?" she asked. "A gift," I said. My voice was steady, calm. She opened it slowly, pulled out the scarf, held it up to the light. The room went quiet. For a moment, just a moment, I thought I saw something in her eyes. Recognition, maybe even appreciation. And then she dropped it on the floor. "Trash," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I felt my stomach drop. She stepped on the scarf, ground it under her heel. "Just like you." And then she spat on the box. The room was silent. 18 people, staring. I looked at Camden. He was staring at the floor. Nobody said anything. Nobody defended me. I bent down, picked up the scarf, picked up the box. Saliva was dripping down the side. I didn't wipe it off. I just walked out. The front door slammed behind me. The cold hit me like a slap. Snow was falling. The kind of heavy, wet snow that soaks through your clothes in seconds. I stood on the steps. My hands were shaking. Not from the cold, from rage. I pulled out my phone. I opened my email. I attached 3 files. I hit send. I counted to 3. 1, 2, 3. Inside the house, a phone started ringing. Let me back up. The thing about Genevieve Ashford was that she wasn't just cruel, she was arrogant. And arrogance makes people sloppy. I figured that out 6 months after I married Camden. It started with a conversation. We were at the Ashford estate for Sunday brunch. Genevieve was complaining about taxes, how much she paid, how the government was bleeding her dry. "They have no idea how to run a business," she said. "If they audited me, they'd find nothing. I have the best accountants in Chicago." Camden laughed. "Mom, you've been dodging taxes since the 90s. Everyone laughed, like it was a joke. But I'm an accountant, and I know a red flag when I hear one. I started paying attention. At every family dinner, Genevieve would mention something. A donation she made, a property she bought, a trust she set up for her grandchildren. And every time something didn't add up. She claimed to donate $100,000 a year to charity, but the charities she mentioned were obscure. Half of them didn't exist. She claimed to own 3 properties in Michigan, but property records showed only 1. The other 2 were listed under shell companies. She talked about her investments in real estate, but the company she mentioned had no public records, no tax filings, no employee listings. I started taking notes. Camden didn't notice. He never did. He was too busy trying to impress his mother, trying to prove he was worth the Ashford name. He worked at his father's investment firm. He made $200,000 a year, but his mother still treated him like a child. and he let her. Every time she insulted me, he stayed silent. Every time she excluded me, he made excuses. "She's just protective," he'd say. "She'll come around." She didn't. And after 3 years, I stopped waiting. I started digging 6 months before that Christmas. I'm a forensic accountant. It's what I do. I find discrepancies, I follow money trails, I uncover fraud. And Genevieve Ashford was a walking fraud case. I started with her charity donations. I pulled 990 forms from the IRS website. Most of the charities she claimed to donate to didn't file returns. The ones that did showed no record of her donations. I moved on to her real estate holdings. I pulled property records from Cook County. Most of her properties were held in LLCs, but the LLCs were registered in Delaware, and Delaware doesn't require ownership disclosures. So I dug deeper. I found corporate filings, tax documents, bank statements. How did I get bank statements? Easy. Genevieve kept everything in her home office, and Camden had a key. I copied files while she was at charity luncheons. I photographed documents while Camden was at work. I downloaded bank records from her computer while she was on the phone. She never suspected a thing, because to her, I was just the poor girl from Gary, too stupid to be a threat. She was wrong. What I found was beautiful. Genevieve Ashford had been committing tax fraud for 23 years. She inflated charity donations to reduce her taxable income. She hid rental income in offshore accounts. She depreciated properties that didn't exist. She claimed business expenses for personal purchases, vacations, jewelry, cars. Conservatively, she owed the IRS $1.8 million in back taxes. With penalties and interest, closer to $3.5 million. I compiled everything into a report. 47 pages, annotated, cross-referenced, airtight. And I sent it to 3 people. The IRS Criminal Investigation Division, the Illinois Department of Revenue, and the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, all from an anonymous email account, all with detailed evidence, all time-stamped for December 24th, 2022, 6:47 p.m., 30 seconds after I walked out of that house. The call came while I was still standing on the steps. I heard it through the door. Genevieve's phone, loud, shrill. I imagined her smiling as she answered, thinking it was me, calling to apologize, to beg for forgiveness. But the voice on the other end wasn't mine. It was a man, formal, professional. "Mrs. Ashford, this is Agent Derek Polson with the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. We need to schedule a meeting regarding your tax filings for the years 2015 through 2022. I couldn't hear her response, but I didn't need to. I walked to my car, got in, started the engine, and I drove away. Camden called me 14 times that night. I didn't answer. He left voicemails, text messages, all of them the same. "Reese, where are you? Mom's freaking out. The IRS called. They want to audit her. Do you know anything about this?" I didn't respond. The next morning, he showed up at my apartment. I was living in a studio in Wicker Park by then. I'd moved out 3 months earlier, told Camden I needed space. Really, I just needed distance. He knocked on the door at 7:15 a.m. I opened it. He looked like he hadn't slept. "Did you do this?" he asked. I looked at him. "Do what?" "The IRS. Did you report my mother?" I didn't answer. His face went red. "Jesus Christ, Reese. She's being investigated. They're talking about criminal charges. Do you understand what you've done?" I stepped aside, let him in, closed the door. "Your mother committed fraud," I said. "For over 2 decades, she stole from the government, she lied on her tax returns, she hid income, she inflated deductions, she broke the law." "She's your family," he said. I laughed. "She's not my family. She made that very clear." She didn't mean... She spat on me, Camden. He went quiet. She called me trash in front of 18 people, and you said nothing. You did nothing. He looked away. She's under a lot of pressure. So am I, and I didn't spit on anyone. He ran his hands through his hair. What do you want me to do? Nothing, I said. I want you to do nothing, just like you always do. He stared at me. Are you serious right now? Yes. You destroyed my mother because she was rude to you. I stepped closer. I didn't destroy your mother. She destroyed herself. I just made sure she got caught. He shook his head. You're insane. Maybe, but I'm also right. He left, slammed the door behind him. I never saw him again. The investigation moved fast. The IRS doesn't mess around with criminal cases. They seized Genevieve's financial records, they interviewed her accountants, they subpoenaed her bank statements. Within 2 weeks, they had enough evidence to press charges. Genevieve hired a lawyer, a good one, $800 an hour, but it didn't matter. The evidence was overwhelming. In March 2023, she was formally charged with tax evasion, fraud, and filing false returns. She pled not guilty, tried to fight it, but in August 2023, she took a plea deal. 3 years in federal prison, $3.2 million in restitution, 5 years probation. She lost the house, the cars, the jewelry, everything. The Ashford empire collapsed. Camden blamed me. So did the rest of the family. They called me vindictive, petty, cruel. They said I ruined their lives over a stupid argument. But here's the thing, I didn't ruin their lives. Genevieve did. She broke the law. She stole. She cheated. I just made sure she got caught. The trial was in October 2023. I wasn't called to testify. The IRS had everything they needed. But I went anyway. I sat in the back row, watched Genevieve sit at the defense table in a gray suit, her hair pulled back, her face pale. She looked smaller, weaker. She saw me. Our eyes met. She didn't look away. Neither did I. The judge read the charges. The prosecutor laid out the evidence. Bank records, tax returns, emails. Genevieve's lawyer tried to argue she'd made mistakes, that her accountants misled her, that she didn't understand the law. The judge wasn't buying it. Mrs. Ashford, he said, you are an educated woman. You sat on multiple corporate boards. You managed a multi-million-dollar estate. You knew exactly what you were doing. She stared at the floor. You defrauded the United States government of millions of dollars. You filed false returns for over 2 decades. You knowingly evaded taxes while ordinary citizens paid bears. He sentenced her to 3 years. She didn't cry, didn't beg, just stood there, silent. As they let her out of the courtroom, she looked at me one more time. And I smiled. Camden filed for divorce in November 2023. I didn't contest it. Didn't ask for anything. I just signed the papers and moved on. He sent me one email after the divorce was finalized. I hope you're happy. You destroyed my family. I didn't respond, but if I had, I would have said this. Your mother destroyed your family. I just made sure she didn't get away with it. Genevieve Ashford is currently serving her sentence at FCI Greenville, a federal prison in Illinois. She'll be released in December 2025. The Ashford estate was sold to pay restitution. The properties, the cars, the jewelry, all of it. Camden moved to New York, took a job at a smaller firm. I heard he's dating someone new, someone his mother would approve of. Good for him. As for me, I'm still in Chicago, still working as a forensic accountant, still finding fraud, still making sure people face consequences. I don't regret what I did, not for a second. People ask me if I feel guilty. if I think I went too far, and I tell them the truth. No. Genevieve Ashford spent many years treating me like garbage. She humiliated me, belittled me, tried to break me. And when I finally had enough, when I finally stood up for myself, she spat on me. So I made sure she'd never spit on anyone again. The Hermes scarf? I still have it. I cleaned it, framed it, hung it in my apartment. A reminder, not of what she did to me, but of what I did to her. Here's what I learned from the Ashford family. Rich people think they're untouchable. They think the rules don't apply to them. They think they can treat people however they want without consequences. They're wrong. The law doesn't care how much money you have. It doesn't care what your last name is. It doesn't care if you summer in the Hamptons or donate to charity. If you break the law, you pay. And if you're cruel to the wrong person, you pay double. Genevieve thought I was weak. She thought I was stupid. She thought I'd just take it, smile and nod and stay quiet. She was wrong. I'm not weak. I'm patient. And patience is a weapon. If you've ever dealt with a toxic mother-in-law, a cruel family member, or someone who treated you like you were beneath them, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe for more revenge and justice stories. And remember, never underestimate the quiet ones, because we're not quiet because we're weak. We're quiet because we're planning.